Hello and welcome back to Small Soldier and another 10-minute tips and techniques. I haven't done one in a while now, and I thought this technique here would be something you might all be interested in, and that's how to make clear lenses. First of all, you'll need some kind of circle cutter or a circle template of some kind to cut your shape. A Molotow liquid chrome pen, if you can get one of those, they're really handy. Bondic tool that I've been using in some of my other videos. This time I'm going to use it as an adhesive. Some future floor polish or some sort of clear varnish of some kind, like a gloss varnish. Some water, some sort of dust-free container to keep the dust off the lens. A piece of mylar, so clear acetate of some kind, very thin is what you want. With that being said, let's get on with the tutorial. So what I have here are some searchlights for the HMS hood. And what I was wanting to do was use the clear lenses that come in the kit, but they were way too big to fit into the searchlight areas. So I had to come up with an alternative plan. What I came up with was a couple things. One was to try and take one of these here. You can see I used the Bondic to create a lens on this portion here, which was kind of hard. You had to swirl this stuff back and forth and then hit it with the light. And it turned out okay, but that would have taken quite a bit of time and way too long. So what I came up with was to take some mylar here off of this Tamiya packaging. So it's just clear plastic, basically, very thin, but it's a very clear bag, so it's good for making lenses. So something like this will work well. And as you can see here, I've already punched out some clear lenses with that poly bag. And you can see the results of that. Here is the result of using that poly bag, using the tools that I'm going to show you next. And I think that looks pretty impressive. Hopefully that's not glaring too much, but you can see that looks pretty much like a glass. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first thing I want to show you is these Molotow liquid chrome pens, and they're pretty good for doing things like inside lenses or areas that aren't going to be touched by your fingers too much. For doing this kind of application, they work really good. So you give it a little shake and then just push down the nib. You'll see the material starts flowing. I'm going to show you on this scrap piece here exactly how they work. You push on the inside and then just swirl that around on the inside like this, wherever you want that chrome. There you go, inside of a headlight. And if you get a little bit over the edge, not a big deal. All you have to do is go in with a piece of paper towel and wipe that clean. And it just comes off like that. And then you just let that dry for an hour or so, and on goes your lens. So that is basically what I did for each one of these guys here. So this tool here is a tool I picked up on eBay a couple years ago. It's called the Thinner Line Circle Cutter, and it works really well for cutting out thinner materials like tape or mylar or anything that you need to make a really perfect circle on. And you can see here it has a very sharp blade, comes in and out of the bottom like this. And there's different styles of blade that come with it. So you get 3 different tips. And on the side here you can see there's measurements. There's no millimeter markings or anything like that. So it's a bit of trial and error. You have to cut the circle until you figure out what the diameter is that you need for the piece. But once you get that diameter, it's locked in here by this little nut. And basically all you do is stick it over the area you want to cut, turn the wheel, and out pops your little circle for your glass. So the next thing I do is place that piece of photo etch in the right position, and then I just take a bit of extra thin super glue. And this tool I'm using here, it's called a super glue loop. They're really good for adding super glue into tight areas like this. You can see the super glue sitting in the loop, and you just go in and you just touch it to the area and it flows the thin super glue in. And as you all know, my little technique here with putting the super glue into a candle will keep that super glue fluid for way longer than as if you put it onto a piece of, on a cap. I've had this in, 6 or 7 hours now, and you can see it's still very fluid in there. It's not dried up at all. It works really well. So once our piece of photo etch is glued in there nice and solid, we'll take a little bit of this Bondic, just squeeze a little bit out. So what I want to do now is get my area where I want to put my clear lens. I'll just take some of this Bondic fluid here and place it over the photo etch. So once I get the glue in there, I just wet a Q-tip with the tip of my tongue. I'm going to pick up that lens, and now you can see that lens is sitting in there pretty nicely. And what I want to do now is just seat it in a little bit. So now I'm going to take my Bondic pin here and turn that UV light on. You can see it's turned on there. You can see it's working. And you're just going to hit the area where you want that glue to set up. It just takes a couple seconds. And you can see here, I have that clear lens on there. Now to give it one extra bit of oomph, you're going to take your Future or Clear X22, whatever you want to use. So you're going to take your micro brush, get a little Future on that, and just drop it in there. And the Future will also act as a bonding agent on top. It'll basically embed that lens right into the work area. So now when I go to paint this, I can just mask over that area and I won't have any issues with that lens coming out, and then I can pop the other piece of photo etch over top. So once I get the Future in there, or your clear coat, whatever you're going to use, I'll just stick it on a container like that and put a lid on top like this, and that'll keep the dust off it until it dries. So there you have it. That's the finished piece, and as you can see, I have a very reflective clear lens. It looks really good, in my opinion, I think anyway. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this technique, and use it in your own lens making journey. So I hope you found this video interesting, and you maybe even picked up a few tips here and there. Please consider subscribing, hit the bell notification below, give me a thumbs up, and share this video with somebody in this great modeling community.